Welcome to Everyday Motherhood, the podcast that inspires you to pause, connect, and play more every single day. The podcast that's focused on you, the mom, to help you fill up your cup and rediscover the joy and love in your everyday life. We can't parent alone, and parenting is too serious to be serious all the time. Thanks for being here. My name is Christy Thomas. I am the founder and developer of PlayForLifeMoms.com. Let's jump in.
And it's all like how to deal with tarnished silver, like stuff that had no bearing on my life. And I was so interested in it. And I read like the American Red Cross, like first aid manuals. Like I just was so weird. And so I have like an ancient kind of love of a how-to book of any stripe, really. So there it is.
I am so excited to share with you today Katherine Newman. Katherine is the author of the memoirs Catastrophic Happiness and Waiting for Birdie, which are about mothering. And then she's the author of a middle grade novel called One Mixed Up Night about being locked into IKEA, and then a kids' craft book called Stitch Camp. But today we're going to talk about the new how-to book for kids called How to Be a Person. At the end of the show, you can go find Katherine at KatherineNewmanWriter.com. And this will all be in the show notes. But before we jump in with a interview that made me laugh so many times, I want to encourage you to join the 84 Hug Challenge. Let's try to hug our kids 12 times a day for 7 days in a row. It's completely free, and it starts on Monday, July 13th. And if you have a kid that doesn't like hug, we can talk about that too. Don't hesitate. Just sign up. What inspired you to make a how-to book for the modern kid?
So there's a kind of, the short answer is my daughter, and the long answer is that my daughter Birdie, who's 17 now, has been this kid who, since she was like 2, does not want to be helped. And this is classic second child or younger, right?
Yep.
She wants to do it all by herself. And I feel like, honestly, if at 17 you could still get away with saying that, she would still say it. I want to drive by myself, which she does. So she has you could never show her anything or touch her when she was trying to do something or teach her anything. And when she was around 12 or 13, I'd asked her to do something like, it was Thanksgiving, and it was either clean the bathroom or sweep the floor. Something basic, a basic thing. We had a bunch of people coming over. And she said, "Oh, I'm happy to. I don't know how to do that." And I said, "Oh, okay, that's fine. Let me show you." And she was like, "No, don't show me. Don't tell me or talk to me about it." And I was like, oh my God, this person is impossible. And I went to the library, not on Thanksgiving, but the following week. And I said to our children's librarian, I was like, I need the book that I'm sure you have that's like a giant photographic encyclopedia of chores for kids. And she was like, yeah, we don't have a book like that. There's not like a step-by-step photographed encyclopedia for kids of how to do chores.
That's amazing.
Right?
Like my mind is blown. Like there are huge sections of the adult part of the bookstore dedicated to like how to fold your towels the right way.
Yeah, right. But I wanted that book, but for kids that would be like fun to read. And so I pitched that book, the giant photographic encyclopedia of chores. It was going to be like 800 pages, and each thing was going to have like 100 photographs where it was like wringing out the sponge and like moving the things off the sink. And Story, my publisher, who I love, they were like, yeah, that's not a fun book. Like, nobody wants that book. The truth is, I'm still convinced someone wants that book, and I do. But so we rethought it a little bit together. And my other big love is communication, teaching kids to communicate, otherwise known as etiquette, but I don't really think of it that way. I really think of it as like how to be a person who can talk to other people and apologize and thank somebody. And so we conceived the book around those two things. And then as we worked on it, it turned into all this other stuff like cooking and basic life skills. And so Birdie, this is the punchline, uses the book at 17 to do stuff.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. She made a egg out of it. She used it to tie a tie. She wears neckties to funerals or whatever. So a million things. She's still in it, and she's 17, and the book is not pitched that old, but honestly, I think it's fine.
Oh, it's so humorous that I sat down and I couldn't stop reading it, and I know how to do 80% of the things in here, I'd say.
Right, Christy? I know, same. There are a couple things I'm like, I don't really know how to do that well, but I'll put it in the book anyway.
Yeah. Right? Some of these are I thought I knew how to do that, but nope, I didn't. I've sewn buttons halfway, apparently.
Yeah. That's why they keep falling off. No, I'm kidding.
Well, and then I just donate the shirt. That's where I'm at. If the button falls off multiple times, someone else can help with it.
That's me. I buy that shirt, Christy. So we're a perfect closed system, the two of us. I buy your shirt with the button off, and I sew a button on it.
There you go. Yeah. Because I'm I just can't deal with this anymore.
I know. You're I have 3 kids. I have bigger fish to fry.
Exactly. I've got a 7-year-old I still have to make sure isn't going to cause bodily harm. The 12 and 13-year-old, they're girls. They're going to boil a pot dry versus cause bodily harm. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 7-year-old boy, he's a loose wild card. He's fun to have, especially as a third kid. But
perfect.
Yeah. So last year, my family was inspired to have a summer of danger because of the TED Talk.
Oh my God.
50 dangerous things that you should have your kids do. So we bought that book and we tried to do as many of the things as we could.
And how'd it go?
It was really fun. I have fond memories of it. My kids were did we actually do that? I'm yes.
Oh my God.
That's how their life works. Yeah. We licked 9-volt batteries. We did the classic things. I let them hit, we have these giant seeds and they got to pound them with hammers. And I don't know. We did stuff that I was yeah. This year, I'm glad we're not doing it because of COVID and everyone wants to stay out of the hospital. But your book is the theme for this summer then.
I'm so excited.
Is what I was going to say. I was this book is obviously our summer, hurrah, how to be a person.
What could be better?
Yeah, it's a good time, especially when you're stuck at home mostly. And these are all good things to occupy your time. Did you have a favorite thing in your book, Katherine, that you knew you wanted to have in here?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the truth is for me, it still boils down to the chores chapter and the communicating chapter. I'm really weirdly passionate about sending kids into the world knowing how to write an email where they ask for what they need or take responsibility. And that might partly be because I also work part-time at a college and I see college students show up and don't know how to say, hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't come to the class when the paper was due because I panicked and it wasn't done and now it's still not done and I need an extension. Whatever the thing is. And instead you get radio silence because they don't know how to write that email.
Yeah.
And my kids still are iffy on the chore stuff. That's the God's honest truth. I have a 20-year-old. He's in and out, right?
Yep.
I mean, he can do the stuff, but, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But, boy, that kid can write an email.
That's awesome.
And I feel that's my passionate sort of focus for my own kids. And in the book, I just feel being able to do that stuff, those are life skills that are kind of irreplaceable, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think that if you're a grown-up, that you should read, the parent should read the How to Raise an Adult book
Oh, God,
right? Like
yes.
your book
By
is
Julie,
like the kid guide to what she says in her book.
So that's Julie Lithcott-Hames, who
Yes.
I am madly in love with, and have gotten to talk to a couple times in the last few months, and she's just great on it. I mean, I think she, and I think you're exactly right. That's the book about the why, and this book's like for kids just about how to. I mean, I wanted to write a book that didn't presume that kids should already know this stuff. Like, I didn't want to make a case for it even. It's just like, here's the stuff. At some point you have to do this stuff. Like, it's fine that you don't know how to do it yet because you must not have learned.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
That there's not like a judgment there.
Right.
Maybe with my 20-year-old, but otherwise not really. I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, I can get to 40 and not know how to sew a button well. So
right. No,
there are lots of things that unless someone slows down enough to teach you, or you're curious enough to pick up a book on how to do it, that you're just going to miss.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we're both like how-to book enthusiasts. We were talking before I hit the record button that my favorite books as a kid were by an author named Joy Berry that were how to clean your room and how to make a snack.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Right. And the nice thing that you had those books, so you didn't even require somebody to be patient with you because a book is always going to be patient with you.
Yes.
You can look at the book a million times. You can forget how and ask the book again. And the book won't be like, I already showed you how to make a quesadilla. Like, it's just there. It's just there for the having. It'll keep all your secrets about what you looked up.
Yeah.
You know?
And even, I mean, I think a book like this, I'm going to encourage my kids to write it, to take notes. Like, to write in the margin about, like, oh, this worked well or that didn't. Like, I think I'm going to end up buying 2 more copies. So they each have their own. So they can write their guidebook to themselves as a grown-up in the margins.
Oh, my God, that's so smart. Right. And they can figure out how they want to do stuff.
Yeah, like this worked or this didn't.
Yeah. Right. Or that's not how I load a dishwasher, which is totally fine.
Right.
You can load it however works. But, you know, then there's a guiding principle that you can deviate from. Yeah.
So this is going to be our summer project. And I just wanted to talk to you about it because it is such a great book. And I feel like it's the segue of like how to use a cookbook and how to use so many other how-to books that you know that you're going to need as a grown-up.
Oh, I love that. How to use a how-to book.
Yeah. I think that's ultimately what this book is. Especially because it's comic book. And for those who haven't seen it, it's just a really fun book, and you need to go see it. Because there are just cute... I wish that I could show it to you over a podcast, but I can't.
Thank you. Well, that's partly because Debbie Fong, who was our illustrator, is this incredible... She just... What I really didn't want it to turn into was a book that had an irritable feeling about kids.
Oh, yeah.
And she just loves kids. Like, you just, in every illustration, it's so loving and funny. And so I just really lucked out. And I loved working with her. And we were, like, completely on the same wavelength all the time. And that was really lucky. And then I feel like the pictures are so perfect instead of... Because I'm sure you could write a book like that and the illustrations would make you be like, well, that wasn't really what I meant. But every page I'm like, that's exactly what I meant.
So what was the thing that you wished you would have learned out of these 65 things? Is there something that you wished you would have learned at like age 12? Or
Oh, as a kid?
Yeah.
Right. It's so funny because people have been writing me, and one of the things that they write me about is what they wish... the stuff they wish were in the book that's not in the book, which I love. Yeah. Which, of course, I'm making a lot of notes about. I'm trying to think what I really wanted to know. I mean, the funny thing is I was careful not to write a book with a lot of stuff I didn't know in it because the last book I worked on with my friend Nicole, we did this book about all the fiber crafts. It's called Stitch Camp, and it's like how to sew, how to knit, how to crochet, blah, blah, blah. We wrote this whole book and I could not learn how to crochet. And I felt like the biggest hypocrite. Like, I can't even tell you. I like people's grandmothers tried to teach me. I watched 1,000 YouTube videos. My friend Nicole sat behind me so that she could like move my hands the right way. I couldn't learn. And then
we have a similar story there.
Oh,
with crochet.
Really?
I begged people to teach me, multiple people, and eventually they were like, yeah, you should stick to knitting.
Yeah, right?
Like, crochet is not your gig.
Yeah, Christy, because it's unlearnable is my conclusion. And so I had to read this entire chapter about crochet without myself having learned. And there's like a sidebar in it that's like true confession from the author. I could not learn to crochet because I just felt like such a jerk. And so this book, I was pretty careful that these were all things I could do because that feeling was so terrible to me. But it's true that as a kid, I would have loved this book. Like I like, I feel like someone helping you think of the kinds of things to say would have really appealed to me. I was a pretty, nerdy kid, and I would have liked reading those little conversations and little ideas about what to say in different situations. So that part would have really spoken to me in particular.
What skill do you wish? You've already said that you like zone in on teaching kids about email communication.
Yeah.
Besides email, what other skill do you think that all kids right now, if you were to laser in into a mom's earbuds, say your kids need these 3 skills or 2 skills, what would they be? Okay. Especially because you work at a college. Like you have a different level of kids that you see.
Well, I have to say 2 political things. Okay. One is I feel like learning to contact your political representative, which is a skill in the communication chapter of the book, is a vital skill, and we're certainly feeling it right now.
Absolutely.
My daughter has written emails to our police department inquiring about their practices of keeping Black and brown people safe in our town. She has called our senator about national policy. So I feel like that is a life skill that is of vital importance, and it's the one that keeps you from standing on the sidelines wringing your hands.
Yeah, knowing how to do it, knowing who to look up, knowing being brave enough to make the phone call when how to make a phone call.
How to make a phone call, how to write an email, and it being as simple as saying, it's not even like you have to have some brilliant thing. You're just communicating. So you can say, I am really worried about this issue. And I'm just writing to you because I know that this falls into your job. And I'm wondering if you can tell me why I should worry less. You can be as basically communicative as you like. It doesn't have to be an essay. It can just be
that's really freeing.
Anxiety. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to get it right even. You can start saying something and say, wait. Let me start over. Because the truth is, phone calls, they don't know how to make phone calls anymore. No. But they're going to have to. They're going to make doctor's appointments. They're going to have to make phone calls. So calling a political representative is really good practice. And it's really good political work. And my other political thing I have to say is that I feel like I don't want to pretend that it's not still really gendered who learns what skills. I feel like I am so committed to raising a boy who is now a man, who does not one day live in a household either of housemates or with a partner. I don't want him to be the guy that doesn't know where the recycling goes or doesn't know that there's wrapping paper in the house because he's never bought it or used it or doesn't know and lets other people do all that work because he's never learned it or he doesn't even know it happened.
Right, that he's just clueless to all that work.
And that, I have had this God help me feeling raising a boy of he is not going to be a person who gets to live with other people and has no idea. And so part of that, weirdly, somebody just pointed this out to me and I hadn't even thought about it that way, but sort of job one, and even just giving your kids a book like this is a huge piece of it. Part of it's exposing the work that goes on. They
Yep.
might not even know all the stuff you do.
Right.
And not because they're being jerks or looking away, but because you do it while they're at school. And so the pandemic's been this time where people see what happens in a household. It's no longer invisible.
Absolutely. Right. And I was reading a time management book for parents, and they basically said that a lot of the adult work is invisible to kids. And you're right.
Yeah.
This pandemic, everyone being home without, they've seen it.
Yeah, the chores, even there's a chapter in the book about money. I think even money has become more of something people are talking about. And I really think people should talk about it. I think I was raised to feel like it was kind of rude to have conversations about money. And we didn't know how much money my parents made. They never shared that with us. We didn't know how finances worked in the household.
Yeah.
I don't know that you do your kids any service concealing that from them. I think then they get to be adults. It was all a mystery. They don't know how you did what you did. Right. And
it's the Oz pulling back the curtain all of a sudden.
Yeah. And I feel like this was a great moment. I've told, even with a 20 and a 17-year-old, or maybe especially because they are about to be launched, I've said, like, hey, I know daddy's not working right now because my husband's a massage therapist. But I said, even though daddy's not working right now, we just gave $100 to the movement for Black Lives because it's really important to us. And I just wanted them to know that we would, like, make that kind of decision, because otherwise we make it privately and they have no way of understanding how decisions get made. You know, what do we value?
And so much of money really is teaching your kids what you value.
Right?
I mean, that's one of the biggest ways you can show companies, show the world what you think and what you support is
exactly
is with the power of money.
And you teach your kids that money is an investment. When you buy something, you're investing in that idea of the world. Yeah. And so I feel like that's just another thing that's been exposed more because everybody's home, and maybe is just a great kind of conversation to have.
Those are great conversations to have.
Right?
I mean, we've had the conversation during the pandemic of making sure we shop local, and that we've made sure we visited some restaurants for takeout more than we normally would, because I wanted to make sure.
Yes. Right.
And that my 7-year-old doesn't love online karate right now. It's not his thing to do Zoom through karate. I was like, but we're going to keep paying for you to do Zoom for karate, even if you don't show up, because we love our karate plate.
Yes. Right. So important.
Like, I don't want them to give me a credit, even if he's not doing it well. I want to support them.
Oh my gosh. Exactly. And to just explain that directly.
Yeah.
And then you can have a separate conversation about whether or not he has to go, but just that they understand why you're investing in your community.
Yeah. It's been a really big conversation of, like, where can we make sure, like, our finances, my husband's in the military, so our finances haven't been as impacted as other people locally.
Yep.
And so it's been a conversation of, well, it's our job now to be extra responsible and extra kind.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so important. And then they understand that there's, like, generosity built into your family values, or caring about your community. It's like an extension of being a good neighbor, all this stuff that you really want your kids to understand. Yeah.
And that you get to talk about it with uncomfortable money conversations. Like, because I grew up thinking that money was like this taboo bedroom conversation. Basically, right? So it's nice to be able to have this moment of so much going on. It feels overwhelming, right? With the pandemic and the giant protests and Black Lives Matters. And there's so much that is a teachable moment right now.
Yeah.
And as a mother, my heart has been shattered a million times, I think, in the last month and a half. So
really
I love that we can come back to tangible things, like how to load the dishwasher. And I can know that that moment will help raise my children to be responsible grown-ups. They'll be responsible,
Totally.
kind-hearted people if they can see the dishes and then do the next thing. So,
Totally. It's so important.
well, thank you for this book.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for getting the book and having me here to talk to you, because I don't talk to that many other people right now.
Every episode, Katherine, I don't know if I warned you about this, ends with a self-care tip and a family play idea.
I'm ready.
Okay, so what is your self-care idea?
Okay, can you deal with a really corny one?
Sure.
It's kind of unbearable. It's going to be like that annoying thing where an interviewer asks you your greatest weakness, and you're like, "I'm too punctual." My self-care is some little act of caring for someone else that makes you feel nourished. And I know that's like the opposite of self-care as is generally practiced. And I do tons of I take cold showers and hot, and I do plenty of actual self-care. But I have found during the pandemic that a little kind of act of putting something out in your community, whatever it is, doing a little shopping for an older neighbor, that kind of pandemic activity, I find just totally grounding. And I think it's because I take myself to be this tiny little bit of a hero in that moment. I'm like, who bought the neighbor a bag of carrots? I did. I'm so helpful. But whatever, you know what I mean? I'll love it. I'll take that good feeling, even if it came from doing something totally minuscule. So that's my self-care tip.
Excellent. Now, do you have a family play idea or connection idea?
Yeah. Well, my family play idea is something that we have done really, I think, since the kids were in middle school, and it's called the Night Walk.
Ooh.
And a lot once it's dark, and this is year round. We do this even in the winter. Someone will say, "Hey, night walk." And we put on our shoes. People who are in their pajamas stay in their pajamas. We do not live in a city. We don't ever see anybody else. And we walk. We have this one route we do in the neighborhood. It's probably about a mile. And it is so grounding. It's like everyone's day is done. And we talk about whatever, big stuff, little stuff, whatever it is. We look at the people's flowering trees in the moonlight, anything.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and with kids, it's everyone's busy. I mean, I'm sure even with 13 and 12, it's they're busy. They're enmeshed in their lives, and it's just this connection at the end of the day, and I love it.
I love that the PJs stay on, and it's just let's go.
Sometimes I literally walk with a glass of wine in my hand.
That's okay. That's great. I mean,
it's really not a, standing on ceremony kind of thing.
No, but it sounds like such a moment of awesome. So
yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Excellent. If people want to follow you online, Katherine, or read more of your books, where can they find you? Because this is book number 5, I think.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I think you're the first person to notice that since my mom noticed. I have a website, which is katherinenewmanwriter.com, a really uninspired website name, Katherine with a C.
Excellent. Well, you should go, if you haven't read Katherine's other book, she wrote 2 books about parenting early on in her parenting journey.
Yeah.
That were some of my family's, my friend circle's favorites. So,
oh, God. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm excited that we got to connect. I hope you really, really enjoyed that episode. Go check out the book, How to Be a Person, and appreciate the timeless guide in that to-do book. Now, don't forget, join and sign up for the free 84 Hug Challenge starting on Monday, July 13th. I can't wait to see you there. You need to sign up, though, so you can get all the emails and figure out how to sign up for the free text messages, which really is the secret sauce. Have a great week.